So are you thinking about running a marathon and wondering where do you even start? So in this video, I'm going to talk to you as if you were my client who was completely new to marathon training. So I'm going to take you through 7 steps, and I have timestamps below, so check them out, and that's because I value your time. Step 1 is going to be to figure out where are you currently at. So this is the first step because there are so many differences between my clients. So I'll have some clients who've been running their whole life and they've been running 3 to 4 times per week. And then I'll have other clients who have never thought about themselves as a runner and haven't really run since high school. And then they're thinking, oh, hey, running a marathon is on my bucket list and it's something that I really want to get into. So it's just really important to understand where my client is currently at before we can make a personalized plan. And in understanding where you're at, that also means what other endurance sports have you done? Where are you at with strength training? Where are you at with your lifestyle? Where are you at with your health? This is the most important question a coach should be asking you when you're starting your marathon journey. Step 2 is going to be your timeline. When is your next race? So have you already signed up for a race, or are we planning out when that race is going to be? And that's because having this timeline is just going to make, again, that plan so much more accurate. I'm always asked how much time should you have to prepare for a marathon, and that really depends on step 1, where are you at with your training and your fitness. I'd recommend anything between 12 weeks and 20 plus weeks. If you're a complete beginner, I'd say give yourself at least 20 weeks so that we can make sure we're increasing mileage and intensity in a conservative way to avoid injuries and also just have longevity in the sport. Step 3 of running a marathon is going to be the training method. So as someone who has been running marathons for 5+ years and had several coaches, what I've really seen a positive effect with is heart rate training. So I'd say how I really started running a lot, I run now 75 miles per week, was after I started training on heart rate. And that is because as someone who is just naturally competitive and wanting to bring out the best of my abilities, I had a tendency to overdo it, and heart rate training for me made sure that on my hard days I wasn't running over a certain heart rate, and the same goes for my easy runs, that I wasn't running over a certain heart rate, versus when I was running on pace, I'd very often either increase the pace towards the end even though my heart rate was a lot higher, because I really wanted to perform during my training. But also in general, I just wouldn't accept the shape I was in. So I was always trying to push. I've also seen really good effect on my clients who have started training on heart rate, and it's really how I broke out of my injury spiral. So if you've watched my story, you know that I ran, my first marathon was a 3:05 marathon, and then my second was a 2:46 marathon. But then after that, I had 6 bone stress injuries, and yeah, I just struggled a lot with absorbing my training. And heart rate training, again, for me, it's just been a way that I've stayed injury-free and just really healthy. Step 4 is base building. So the way I like to describe base building to a new client is like building a house. So when you're building a house, you want to make sure that you're really building a solid base for the house to stand on, because otherwise, as you're building it tall, it's just going to collapse. How this works in endurance is you want to build a solid aerobic base. So this means that you want to be running a lot of easy miles. And again, this is where my clients will be like, oh, but I'm running slow, so it's easy. Or it's not necessarily easy, but they think it is what's meant with easy running, because they could go a lot faster. But easy running, the way I see it, is from a heart rate perspective. And that is because personally, I can feel like my faster pace where I'm running, say, 160 heart rate, that can feel easy for me. So RPE can be low, yet it's actually in the middle zone. So that's why heart rate training is just, from my experience, a very good way to make sure that your easy runs are truly easy. And then of course, you want to consider factors like RPE. I'd say I like to think about heart rate as a max. So if you're feeling really sluggish and you're still running in your easy heart rate zone, then you can go even slower, but you don't want to go even faster, even though you're feeling good, because that's instead a sign that, okay, maybe we can increase more volume, or maybe we can add more intensity or longer duration on that intensity for your tempo sessions or your threshold sessions. And if all this terminology is completely new to you, then I recommend checking out my comeback series where I talk about managing running intensity and running load, because in these episodes I describe more what this terminology means. Back to base building. So what that essentially means is running a lot of easy miles. So a lot of zone 2 running, even zone 1, and then typically your harder work will be tempo sessions, so more zone 3 and low zone 4, and not focusing on that speed. And this way we can keep building mileage, which is crucial for running a marathon, because a marathon is a very long race, right? 26.2 miles or 42 kilometers. Step 5 is going to be introducing threshold runs and building your long run. So once you have that solid base, then we can really start to focus on building that speed that you can hold for a longer time. Threshold runs are just that. They are helping you build your anaerobic threshold, which is the pace, or the faster pace you can hold for a longer period of time, which is exactly what you want when you're racing a marathon. And then the long run is super important to build your aerobic capacity. And it's also really important for your mental game, because you definitely want to practice your mental game for your marathon. It is a very long and hard race. And then I'd say the long run is important for having your body practice burning fat as fuel. And the long run also teaches your body to recover after a really long race, which is also super important in marathon training because you are covering so many miles. When I'm talking about a lot of miles or threshold runs or easy runs, everything is always going to be relative to you, right? So your body is going to think that 5 miles is going to be really far if you're used to running 1 mile, versus 5 miles if you're used to running 8 miles is going to be super short. So I just want to clarify that it's always going to be relative to the person who I'm working with, or in this case, you. And then I'd say threshold runs and the long runs are super important just for your confidence, because when we've covered far distances and we've been running at a faster pace, it makes us feel like going into the race we will be able to do it, right? Because we've done that in training. So step 6 of running marathon is going to be the taper. So a taper just means that you are reducing the volume of training. And this is a period where typically I and my clients will feel more tired because we have been building mileage and intensity for a long time. And then we're finally allowing our body to rest so that we can reap those benefits and perform the absolute best possible. So what you don't want to do, if you saw my story, is run super far and fast before the race, because that way you are leaving your performance, your best performance, for your training rather than in the race. So you want to really make sure that you're allowing your body enough time to taper. And if you're curious about how much time you should have to taper, then I'm going to be making another video about that. So definitely subscribe so you won't miss that video. And then just in general, I'd say how long of a taper, it really depends on the athlete. Again, everything is so individual. It's really hard to give general advice. Right, it depends on how long we've been building your mileage. It depends on how hard, how aggressively we have been building that mileage, how much speed. So basically how tired the athlete is. Because the more tired you are, the more of a taper you want to make sure that you are recovered so that you can perform to the best of your ability. So step 7 of running a marathon is race day itself. Things to know about race day. Don't try anything new. So I always recommend my athletes to practice fueling during their long runs, even practice fueling during their tempo sessions or threshold runs to make sure that they're able to take on that nutrition when they're running faster. And then use your threshold runs as an indicator of where your fitness is at and what race pace you're at. So this is something I talk to my athletes about, and we test out what tempo we think is possible to sustain for that long of a time, and then we make a strategy to try to run the race progressively. So I'd say this is something, it's so easy to make this mistake, right? That you start off too hard. In every race I've ever had, I'm always passing people because people have a tendency to start off too fast. So you just end up having a much better race experience if you start off slower, and you also end up performing better because you are feeling better and better throughout the race, and that is giving you the confidence that, oh my god, like I'm having the race of my life because I'm feeling better as I'm running more. And I think that is for sure gonna take out the best race performance that's in your body for that current day. And as far as sleep goes, it's totally normal to get a poor night's sleep the night of the race, so that's not something I would stress about at all. I think the night I ran my personal best, which was a 2:46 marathon, I slept like 3 hours and I still ran a fast marathon. So again, nothing to stress over. It's really normal. I'd say it's just important to focus on sleep that week leading up to the marathon. So it's always important to focus on sleep, but I'd say focus extra on sleeping the week leading up to the marathon. All right, so that was it. So I wish all of you a good luck on training for the marathon and the marathon itself. And if you want to have me as a coach, there is a one-on-one coaching link below. And I also have marathon training plans. So if you use the code YouTube, you get 20% off them. And if you want to learn how to manage running intensity, then check out this video. And if you want to learn more about nutrition, I interview my registered sports dietitian, Katie. So check out this video right here. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.